And we're live. What? What's so funny? What's so funny, Brian?
Ah, the flop and the ambassador getting sued for 10 million. That was hilarious to me. Are you kidding me? Like,
That's
come
like, that's
on,
like
man.
me getting sued for $10, but that's cool.
That's like me getting sued for $1.
Yeah.
But come on, that was hilarious. Like their endeavor, their project. But anyway, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in until the point with
Skip.
and the king. You guys know what to do. Go down there, click subscribe, click like, leave some comments. Have a little bit of fun with us. We love your comments. We love what you guys got to say. I see you guys say some stuff. And if you guys really want to say that stuff to our face, come down to Hurricanes Roadhouse on Tuesday, September 20th, okay, while we're hosting a trivia night. And if you think you know more about sports than us, bring it on.
That's next
Bring it on.
Tuesday, guys. Next Tuesday, Hurricanes Roadhouse. Make sure you make it out.
Yes, this coming Tuesday. We would love to see you guys, even if you don't want to get at us. That's great. We love all of you out there. We love how you love our guests, our amazing guests, especially my man right there, the Aquaman, Papa Minnow. Yes, Papa, you were here the other day for my birthday, and I did say this. And yeah, by the way, happy birthday to me. I did tell everybody his real name is Papa Minnow, and put some respect on that name. How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks again for having me on. And yes, happy birthday to you once again. That was actually probably the first time though that someone's been like, "Oh, your name's Papa," and like pretty much everyone really believed it. I think there was maybe like two people that might have kind of doubted it. For the most part, everyone was just like, "Oh, that's cool," and then like let it go. But that's a very rare occasion that happens. So
Yeah, I can only
Yes,
imagine. Like
thank you for
grade one. I
coming.
can only imagine what it was like in like grade one.
oh man, grade school is the worst. I got all kinds of like Papa Smurf, Papa Oak,
Yeah.
Mama, all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
Yo, I'm a Papa Smurf guy. I'm a Papa Smurf guy. Yo, Papa Smurf is my man. Skip, yeah, and screw you for not coming because you were in what? Houston,
Dallas,
watching
Houston and
your
Dallas. I was in
beloved
Dallas.
Blue Jays.
I was in Dallas to watch the Jays, or Arlington to watch the Jays. Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, let's get into this right now. Thank you, guys. But let's get into this. Touche Boucher. Okay. Now, Papa, you're our main recap guy where you look at things in hindsight and we appreciate what you have to say. So, can you tell me about Boucher behind us, looking in the rear view? Can you give us a little something on that?
yeah, so I mean the Raptors obviously re-signed Boucher, brought him back with the team.
We'll
I
get
think it's
into
a
that.
good I think it's a good signing for them. It definitely helps with their depth going forward. Boucher's been a huge development, not project, but he's been developing with this team. I think when he first came here, he wasn't necessarily sure what his role was supposed to be. So he was trying to do a little bit too much when he first got here, make highlight plays, take some off balance threes that he can't be making, fadeaway jumpers, and then, some crazy closeout on blocks, like trying to make the big plays to make the highlights and all that. But last year, we really saw him come into his role and kind of choose to be more of a role guy and bring more intangibles to this team. He really found and figured it out. I think that's with a lot of help from Nick Nurse, Bobby Webster, and Masai Ujiri. It really helped him develop in that sense. But he's really taking it on himself to be that guy who comes off the bench and brings energy, makes some big plays from time to time, take shots that he knows he can take now rather than doing some highlight play threes. He'll take the open three if it's there for him and he knows he can make it. He'll play some defense as well too. You know, get down in the block and start blocking guys. Playing really well in that end as well too. And yeah, he brings a lot of energy. So last year we really saw him develop, kind of take that next step in order of being a role guy. I don't see him being a starter next season. That's going to be still. I think it's going to be Precious Achua is going to be taking that. But you know, Boucher really.
I think they're both coming off the bench. But go on. Sorry.
Okay, well we'll see. But I think Boucher is he's learned his role, so he's definitely going to be that high energy guy who brings a lot of intangibles and does the dirty things that you need him to do. And he's really improved on that front. Like last season, we saw him play 21 minutes a game, put up 9.4 points, 6.2 rebounds. He didn't shoot that well from three, but you know, when he's open, he can knock it down if necessary. His field goal was also a little bit lower as well too. But the years before that, when he had 24 minutes, his numbers were actually up in 2020 when he had 13.6 points, 6.7 rebounds. He was shooting 50% from the field goal, and he was shooting 38.3% from three. Obviously taking less threes than before, but he was able to knock them down. So I think we'll probably see more of that from him this upcoming season because now he knows he's established and what he has to do for this team. And I think that will help him develop even better. And we'll probably see him be around like 14 points or like 13 points and that same 6-7 rebounds going forward.
Skip.
Yep.
Based on what Papa just said, he kind of alluded to it right at the beginning with that contract extension. Now, my question to you is he worth it?
So the contract was 3 years, $35.25 million, which is a lot of money.
Is he
obviously,
worth it?
I'm getting to it. I think it is a lot of money for a guy in that specific role that he's occupying. When you look at the 9 points, the 6 rebounds, it doesn't jump out at you as a $12 million player. But I think bottom line is he's worth most of it. I think he's a bit overpaid because I think most NBA players who get to free agency and are a valued commodity are overpaid. But bottom line, I think it was worth it for the Raptors to bring him back. They had no other options really because they couldn't replace that production anywhere else. They couldn't go out in free agency and sign somebody else who was going to do what Chris Boucher does. And the thing about Chris Boucher is he's actually really, really good. If you look at his on-off numbers last year, even with the field goal percentage being way down, even with the poor shooting, the Raptors were a little bit better with him offensively on the floor, and they were a lot better with him defensively on the floor. So his on-off ratings were plus 1.1 for offense and minus 4.8 for defense. So he was really, really getting in there and making a difference defensively. And it's interesting because actually, I think you might have mentioned this, Papa, but his blocks were way down last year. And that's actually a good thing because he was actually playing positional defense. He was getting in front of guys. He was holding his position. He was taking charges, whatever the case may be. Rather than I mean, he was getting in a defensive position rather than running out of guys and going for the block and flying into the first row of the stands. And then, you know, in the NBA, what happens when you do that? Guys just take a dribble, a sidestep, and make the open shot. So I think he was getting away from that, and he was really improving his defensive numbers. And then you look at the year before, you alluded to when he actually shot more threes that year, I think, than last year. But regardless, he shot 38% 2 years ago, was much better shooting.
He took one more 3-point attempt per game.
Yeah, exactly. So he was a much better offensive player that year. But I looked at his on-offs, and it's actually really interesting because the team was 7 points better with him on the floor offensively that year, but they basically broke even defensively. So what we kind of saw is a guy who could be a difference maker offensively when he was making his shots and could be a difference maker defensively when he wasn't making his shots. And obviously with the defense goes with the offensive rebounding. That's obviously his calling card as this kind of hustle, JYD, garbage man type of player. That's really what he established himself as last year, and he really, really helped the Raptors. And one really interesting thing is I looked up his win shares per 48. I don't necessarily know that that's the best stat in the world to evaluate a player, but his career number is 192, which is sky high. His number last year was down a bit. It was 169. It was still 24th in the NBA. Now, I'm not saying he's the 24th most valuable player in the NBA. I think the stat is staggered to overvalue guys who are big men who get a lot of rebounds. But regardless, there's a lot of sort of advanced numbers that show that Boucher's impact are a lot more than what you might see in the box score. And he's a really important piece for this Raptors team. And I think you go back to the thing I said before about how he had this great offensive season and this great defensive season. If he could somehow play that great defensive hustle man role and improve his 3-point shooting to a little bit closer to what it was 2 years ago, suddenly you're looking at a guy who's a 6-man-a-year candidate and a guy who can be a really, really impactful player off the bench.
Skip.
Yo.
Myself, Papa, and everybody out there watching, answer my question. Is it worth it?
Yes, it's worth it. For the Raptors, it's worth it. I think he's way more valuable to the Raptors than any other team. But for the Raptors, it was absolutely worth it.
Okay. So let me give you my take on Chris Boucher. May I weigh in, guys?
Jump in.
Cool?
Of course.
Okay. Okay. So when it comes down to Touche Boucher, yes, that's the thumbnail you guys clicked on. Touche Boucher, right? I support him as a fellow Canadian and playing for my hometown team, right? Gotta love it. You know what? What we've seen was recently is that this past season he took a dive in like attempts, makes, points, everything, percentages as well. But like Skip alluded to, also blocks, and because he's not coming off the weak side, but what he has accomplished for this team has been insurmountable. Honestly, any team would love to get him. And we all know, yeah, I'm saying it, the American media out there, you don't care about anybody on the Raptors. We know this. Like, look at the 2K rating, Papa. You see that? That was ridiculous. But, like, they don't care about that. But you know what? The Raptors are playing as a team, like ourselves here. And what Boucher offers to this team is you can't even scale it. Like, there's really no way. And people will look at the numbers and think, oh, well, he didn't do that good last year. He didn't do that good last year. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Positionless basketball is going to be the future, and it's starting right here in the city of Toronto. Now, what I will say is it has allowed other players such as the OGs, the Pascals, the Scotties, the Freddies, the Trents, it has the Birches, Precious, it has allowed everybody to actually share the ball, right? And now my question to you guys is, do you think that devalues Chris Boucher as a player in this league now that Toronto can play positionless basketball? Skip, I'm looking at you right now.
You're looking at me. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Well, no, I think Boucher is the ultimate positionless player in a lot of ways. I have a separate concern, which is if the Raptors so we just did an episode on Toronto's 3-point shooting, and I said I really emphasized that the Raptors need to, like you were just mentioning, pick up their ball movement and make better shots. And so I'm worried about Chris Boucher fitting into a system where the Raptors are actually making their 3-point shots.
Are you saying that he needs to start making his 3-point shots?
I'm saying it's sort of a two-pronged thing. First of all, if he doesn't make his threes, that could if he continues to like shoot 29%, that could be a real Achilles heel going forward for not just him, but for Toronto's spacing overall. And the second thing is, on the other hand, a lot of the reason that he was such a great offensive rebounder is because the Raptors missed so many shots. So if they start making shots, maybe those offensive rebounds are a little less valuable. I don't know. Maybe they switch up their style a little bit. I don't know. That's where I'd be worried about Boucher's fit with the team going forward.
Touche, Boucher. Keep going.
Yeah, so that's all I really had to say. Just I think he's a really valuable piece. I think every team needs that guy who can get in the paint and get rebounds and play defense. No matter how good you are, like every team needs that. Even Golden State with Draymond, whoever. You need guys like that, and ultimately there is probably going to be a role for him on this team. But I'm a little bit concerned about whether his value might diminish a little bit as the Raptors go forward and the other guys in the roster get better. Whether Boucher is kind of what his role is on the finished version of this team. But I still think he's a really valuable piece this year, and I think he could be really important going forward.
Papa.
I think it.
I got a couple questions for you, but go ahead, say what you want to say.
I was just gonna say real quick that I think he's like Skip said, he is the ultimate positionless player. So in that sense, I don't think it devalues him because of the fact that he is able to, move around, grab those offensive rebounds. He's able to make shots when he's open. He's able to guard guys down low as well too. And it's not like offensively we're going to be feeding him into the post and making him the central aspect of that second unit anyways. So I think in that sense, then yes, he is very valuable, and it does make him valuable because he is intangible in that sense. But like Skip had said, I think my concern is also if the other guys are playing a lot better, then it will kind of diminish some of his value in that sense. Like one of the guys that we discussed, Precious Achua, if he ends up developing a little bit more and, Delano Ben ends up developing a little bit more as well too, and these guys start, making their shots and getting the points that they need to be getting, then I do think in that sense, yes, Chris Boucher will probably lose a little bit of value for this team. But overall, I do think that he is valuable and we do need him on this team in that second unit. So I will say that he's not devalued in that sense.
Here we go. This was my other question to you guys, but I'm going to answer for myself right now. Yes, I have said it. Chris Boucher can lead the second unit, like you just said, Papa. Now, you guys did kind of allude to it earlier, but what role for the Toronto Raptors do you think he could maximize himself in there with his potential?
Well, kind of the role that he already has, which is just this hustle rebound. I mean, the comp came up on the broadcast a lot last year. The comp was Dennis Rodman. And I mean, I looked at the numbers. Obviously, he's nowhere near the level of a Dennis Rodman in terms of what he specifically does. But you actually look at the per 36 numbers, there is a little bit of, I could see it a little bit. I could see where they're going with that. Obviously, Boucher scores more. He's not rebounding at that crazy elite level. I mean, Rodman led the league like 6 years out of 7. Boucher came like 20th last year. Like we're not talking about like an elite, but he was basically, I think he was second in offensive rebounds for a non-center last year. He was up there in offensive rebounding percentage. He's really this guy who gets in the paint and not just gets the offensive rebounds himself, but the team offensive rebounds so much better when he's on the floor. So that's really the number one skill that he brings to the table. All the other stuff, and I should say pairing that with the defense, because absolutely the team was much better defensively when he was on the floor. Big guy, can switch, can obviously play better positional defense now than he could before. So I think a guy who can do all those things can be a great sixth man off the bench. I think he's personally the Raptors' seventh or eighth man off the bench, but that's great. If you have a sixth man coming seventh or eighth off your bench, that's the recipe to having a championship team, right? So I think he can absolutely. I wouldn't say. I mean, keep in mind, this guy won the MVP of the G League. Like he can be a featured offensive player, as we saw in the G League, as we saw 2 years ago when the Raptors were terrible and he was putting up all those points. But he's clearly found his role as a bit more of a hustle guy. And I don't think he's going to be leading the offensive unit in the way that you would think in terms of being that, 15 points a game off the bench necessarily. But just in terms of being the most important bench player, I think he can be that.
Papa, What are your thoughts on his role?
Yeah, I don't see him being a starter on this team as well either. So it's definitely got to be something where he maximizes all his potential on that second unit. But I think the biggest thing, well, one of the biggest things that he can definitely improve on is that shooting. We saw it in 2020. So if he can bump that up in 2022 and have that same around that number, then that'd be a huge plus for the Raptors going forward, especially for this team that needs to start making threes. Like that was one of the biggest struggles last year. So if that's something that he can improve on, along with some of the other guys as well too, then we'll see this team definitely flourish. And they have high aspirations for this upcoming season. So, you know, that's a huge improvement if he's able to start making down those threes that, you know, he can make. So I think, like Skip had said, you know, the defense and the rebounding, those are the two biggest things for sure. But I think the third thing that needs to come up is that 3-point shooting.
Interesting. Maybe he can be the best sixth man, and the ambassador might get sued for $10 million making a song about him, like what happened with Lou Williams. We're not even going to get into that. But that's some really great insight there, Papa. Like I personally, I see, and I've said this, Skip knows, I've been harping on this for so long right now. Boucher's got to be the guy to run the bench. Some of you guys seeing it out there when I said this is bench mop 2.0 this past season.
What do you mean by run the bench? What do you mean by run the bench? Because I don't want him. I don't want him.
Sixth guy.
I don't want him on. I don't want him on the ball though. I never want him to touch the ball really, unless he's inside the paint. Like, I mean, unless he's getting a rebound. Like,
okay. Give me a second unit for the Raptors currently. Boucher.
Yeah. Achua. Thad Young. There
we go.
Otto Porter.
Malachi or Delano.
Well, if you're running a 5-man unit, I don't think they're going to run 5-man.
Not to mention Bo Cruz. Not to mention.
No, forget those guys.
Like Otto Porter Jr.
Your 5-man. You're probably going to have 2 stars on the floor at all times, I would say, and a 3 and yeah.
Listen, Boucher is a star, regardless of what people think about him in this league. He is a star, and he has definitely
a star role player. You could say maybe
a star. Yeah,
he could be that. He could be that.
He could definitely run the second unit for your Toronto Raptors, right? He definitely can. Am I wrong? Am I hearing?
I don't like the word run because I think run implies that he's going to be the featured player. I don't think he's going to be the featured player.
The ball.
He might be the most important player, but that doesn't mean he's the featured player off the bench.
Well, the most important player is the featured player.
Yeah,
Skip.
I think. Also, Precious Achiuwa is coming off the bench, and
unless you're LeBron James, then that doesn't count.
And if Precious Achiuwa is coming off the bench, then I think he's an even more important player than Boucher. But that's it. I think Boucher is really important, and I think he can absolutely be right in the middle of everything. Every team, like I said before, every team needs a garbage man. Every team needs a guy who can just be in there, mixing it up, getting rebounds, playing defense, and doing all the things that Boucher does well. That's a valued commodity. And I think having found that role, he's really important to the Raptors this coming year.
Okay, so one last question before we get out of here. All right, we're running short on time.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, how do you see Boucher's potential and his value to the Toronto Raptors coming up with this season that starts in October? Is it good or is it bad? Papa, you're up.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? You said his value in this upcoming season. Yes. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I'd say it's good.
What do you project? What do you project? Normally you look behind with us, but now I want you to look forward, my dude.
I project it to be good. I think he's gonna score more. His rebounds will probably be around the same, but he'll shoot better percentages. His defense, I think his blocks will probably go up as well too this season, and his minutes will probably elevate slightly a little bit, but I'd say around the same. But yeah, I think his projection is going to be good. I'm going to say it's going to be a good projection for him. I really see him improving on that shot, playing more defense, so he's going to get more blocks, and I
You
think
gotta
his
go to
percentage is going to be
Rico
great.
Hines tryout, right?
I'm going to say it's going to be good for him. It's going to be good for him. It's going to be a good upcoming season for Chris Boucher.
Okay, Skip, do you see him escalating or do you see him deteriorating this coming season?
I think I probably see him improving, but I think it could go both ways because I think he's kind of the X factor in terms of how the Raptors play stylistically, right? Because last year they really focused on dominating the possession battle. If that's the game they're
Nailed
going to
it.
play, if that's the game they're going to play this year, then Boucher is really important. If they migrate to a slightly different style, if things change up, if they have focus on different areas of their game, then Boucher's value is diminished a little bit. And I think that's where I said if he's not making his threes, that could be a problem. So I think if he can just shoot a little better than he did last year, he doesn't have to be a superstar. Just shoot like 32% or something, and just take them when they're wide open, and not try and hijack the offense with them, and then do all the other things that he was doing last year. I think that's a great player. That's a player that's better than it was last year, and he can continue to grow and develop and establish himself in this league.
I like both of your answers. You guys are great with this. Because I do agree. Maybe that's a little bit biased, but yeah, those are awesome answers. Guys, we're pretty much out of time. So thank you, everybody out there supporting, watching, viewing. Thank you, Papa, for coming on the show. Oh, and by the way, thanks for coming by for my birthday party, man. That was fun. Right?
Anytime,
Right.
man. Anytime.
That was dope. There was no jerk chicken left for me, eh? I didn't get any left.
It was too good.
You gotta save some for
I
me.
know, right? I know, right? But thank you guys for all your support. Go down there, click subscribe, click like. Go to Pop's Culture on Spotify. Listen to that one. I'm on there sometimes, and I will be on there again. Right, Pop? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
You guys know what to do. Go check out Skip. Okay. Here's a major announcement. Skip is newly minted into Raptors Republic as a writer. So you guys can definitely go online and see his articles. You guys know what to do. At Dougie J's on Twitter. Get at him. It's baseball season. You were just in Texas, right?
I was just in Texas. Yep.
Yep.
And
and
follow at To The Point Raps for this show. Follow at To The Point Raps as well. Not just
saw somebody die out there. That's how crazy Texas is. So
let's not get into that on the show. All right,
we're not going to
go on.
That rest in peace to that person.
Yeah.
But you guys know where to find him at running the point. SimonBroder.com.
And Hurricanes.
And
Next
then
Tuesday.
you guys will find us this coming Tuesday at Hurricanes Sports Trivia. If you want to challenge us, sports trivia. Ari Spears side note, Ari Spears actually had a funny joke about in the Expendables when Jean-Claude Van Damme came out, and he goes, "Don't try to challenge." And he was like, "Challenge? That sounds like a hairstylist." So come and challenge us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be fun. We'll see you guys then. On behalf of myself, Papa Minnow, and the skipper, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
peace.